More transfer talk with Ali Moreno. Ali, we're going to start with Oleksandr Zinchenko of Manchester City, strongly linked with a move to Arsenal. First of all, would it be a good move if he went there? And second of all, he plays in midfield when he captains his country. Do you think Arsenal might have identified him as a holding midfielder or more of a left back or a left wing back?
Well, I think it's a good move for Zinchenko in that it may just be time in his career to take a step, not necessarily to a better team, because we know that Manchester City is obviously superior to Arsenal, but to have a more prominent role. And that's a decision that a player makes at this point is, do I play the secondary role at Manchester City and feel comfortable with that role and just continue to play a part for this major team? Or do I go and play a prominent role at a team that is young, up and coming, and where I think I can make a difference? And I think what Zinchenko may be telling himself is, it's been great in Manchester City. I've had a great experience, but I think in order for me to continue to evolve as a player, I have to be in a prominent role and in a role in which I take responsibility. And so to that end, I think that the move would be good for Zinchenko. It would be good for Arsenal. As to where he plays, well, he does give you that variety. I don't think he's a left back. I don't think by choice he would want to play left back. Here's a guy that wants to get on the ball, and we see him when he plays with Ukraine, that not only does he want to get on the ball, but you see him getting on the ball in advanced positions, willing to make a pass, willing to run at defenders, and willing to combine. When you have that sort of quality in tight spaces, I think you exploit that. If you're Arsenal, you place Zinchenko higher up the field.
The next couple, Jules Kounde, you and I have spoken, and you've spoken many times on ESPN FC. Every time a transfer window comes around, the Sevilla defender is linked with Chelsea. That's still ongoing among other clubs. Kimpembe as well. If you had the choice of the two, given that Koulibaly at Chelsea and Thiago Silva, who do you think would be the best fit into that Chelsea back three, if that's what Thomas Tuchel does?
I would say Jules Kounde, in that he can play on the right side of that back three, and he can also at times deputize as a right back as well, if you need to play with a back four. I think he gives you more flexibility in the back line. He has the athleticism to cover the spaces. He can match up in 1v1 situations, a little bit undersized when it comes to marking big, strong strikers, but I think he makes up for that with the speed and his ability to cover those spaces. I would take Jules Kounde. I think Kimpembe is a good player, but I've seen too many mistakes from Kimpembe in key moments as well. So there is a potential for him to have those mistakes in big moments. I don't know if I go in that direction if I'm Chelsea, although there is a relationship here from Thomas Tuchel and Kimpembe, given the fact that he played for Tuchel at PSG. Regardless, if I were making this decision, I would go towards Jules Kounde simply because I think he gives me more flexibility.
You think Ivan Toney starts the season and ends the transfer window still at Brentford, or with links to both Manchester United and Newcastle, do you think he might be on his way?
He may be on his way. Now, when you mention those two teams, Newcastle and Manchester United, I think it's more likely, in my opinion, that he would go to a club like Newcastle that is sort of building themselves into something, but they're not quite to the level where they can challenge for a top four position, rather than taking the big leap to Manchester United. However much you think that Manchester United has struggled over the past few seasons, it still is a major jump to go at 26 years old, mind you, because Ivan Toney is 26. So you know what he is as a player. It's not like he's going to get significantly better from here on out, that he's going to make jump straight from Brentford to Manchester United. And even if he did, I don't know what the role is for him at Manchester United. And if indeed there is a role, I think it kind of tells us how limited Manchester United can be in the attack. I think Ivan Toney would be better served in taking a jump to Newcastle, not the major jump to Manchester United.
It just seems strange how much money they spent to get Chris Wood, and it seemed to be a stopgap signing until the summer. But he's a player that went from Burnley for a lot of money, and probably, depending on who they get for next season, might be surplus to requirements. Someone else who might be on the move is a very talented player who kind of struggled with injury towards the end of last season. But if he gets a good run of games, Maxwel Cornet is a fantastic player. However, Burnley are down. He wants to play Premier League football. Everton have been linked with him. Would that be the perfect replacement for someone like Richarlison?
And you just mentioned the key there. The fact that you lose somebody like Richarlison, that means that you got to go get players that can occupy that space or can give you something similar to what Richarlison used to give you as a player. Part of Everton's struggles last season is that they were very limited in the attack, and that hasn't changed. And so you have to be able to manufacture some of these transfers that make sense for you, because you need to add numbers in the attack that give you some of that explosive movement that perhaps you were missing out on last season. And though I think that Everton is a nice match, I also hear that in reading some of the information around Cornet is that while Everton are flirting with Cornet, then Fulham has also stepped in and said, well, we like the player as well. We like this guy. How about we dabble in here and see if we can get a player that can be useful to us? And Fulham is an attacking team that likes to have the sort of players that move in and out of positions. It could be a good match for Cornet as well. I think the options are there for Cornet. It's either Everton or Fulham. Both of them would make sense from both the player's perspective and the club's perspective as well.
Yeah, I'd just love to see him get a run of games without injury, because he's a really talented player. We end with Gianluca Scamacca, West Ham linked with him. What do you make of that?
Well, if you listen to our colleague Don Hutchison, former West Ham player, by the way, he loves some Scamacca. I mean, he loves the possibility of this guy coming over. But it may be that it's an either-or situation, in that there's conversation about Armando Broja coming to West Ham. And does that mean that then that closes the door to Gianluca Scamacca? Or can West Ham really make a strong move and say, no, look, we need attacking players, and the more the merrier. And as much as I love me some Antonio because of all the work that he does, and let me tell you, this guy puts in a shift and puts in the work all the time. The truth is that productivity is not always there. So you're going to need that same work from Antonio, but then you're going to need some quality to put the ball in the back of the net. Maybe Scamacca is the one that provides that. Maybe it's Broja. West Ham is going to have to make a decision as to where they prioritize. Do they go for both of them? Do they choose one of them? And if indeed they chose one of them, would Scamacca be the better choice? Probably, potentially. But I think for West Ham, they're just looking at the possibility of having more options in the attack.
Plenty of time still remaining in the transfer window this summer. However, some big names are starting to be on the move.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.